Welcome back, everybody, to the Sexy Business Podcast. I am your host, Spooky Dangerous, and joined with me, as always, is the even better host, Lewd Neko. Say hello.
Everyone.
And this time we're kind of doing a little bit of a recap of a cool thing that we did recently. THM Studios has just released the erotic collectible cards series 1. We're going to get a little bit into the, the lore and the backstory of this project. But last week we did a live stream, the very, very first live Sexy Business podcast, and did a pack opening where I got 10 packs of the Series 1 erotic collectible cards and opened them live on stream, and we got to see a lot of different art, a lot of the different commissioned art, and everything that came together. I think it went really well. It was a lot of fun, and the project itself has been doing really well. I'm going to get into like the history of it and how it all kind of came together and stuff like that. But I kind of want to talk first impressions. So, Neko, you didn't get to see really anything of the cards or know too much about it in advance, but you did get to like have that hooray kind of factor of seeing it all kind of when it gets opened. What was your kind of vibe about the whole thing, really?
So my thing is I really love adult game or Aero game merchandise because it is like oftentimes limited run. It's very niche for many reasons. I've bought like collector's editions of Aero Gay I don't actually like that much just because I wanted all the little shit it came with to be like, I own this expensive thing based off of porn. I also own a lot of physical porn. I got like a 3D print of one of the characters from Harem Hotel when that was on their Patreon for a little bit. So I think the idea of a collectible cards for an adult game company in this case is really smart because cards are fun to display. They're fun to trade or like share or just flip through and collect. And because like you've made such a extensive list of games at this point, you have a lot of different characters that you're possibly going to get. So I think even if you bought like 1 or 2 packs only, like there's a pretty significantly good chance you're going to get a bunch of stuff that you like, right? And especially since all of your character or your games are in like the niche of like femdom and foodadom, from that perspective, you're probably not going to get any characters where you're like, that's not my fetish. Whereas I can see maybe other companies struggling with this because if you have too many games, like if you're a huge publisher that has like 40 different adult games under your belt, if you did like a collectible card series, I could see that maybe being a little tricky because you'd be dealing with so many different potential fetishes and waifus and even like sexual preferences and things like that. And plus, you also have the Bishoujo Mom cards, which is, I think, a nice addition of having some real woman as well as all of the many fake 2D women.
Just in case people forget what real women look like, there's Bishoujo Mom.
That's the only woman that exists.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
real.
Yeah, unless if you're built like Bishoujo Mom, you're a man. But yeah, I kind of agree. Like, if a bigger adult studio, like Critical Bliss, for example, did a collectible cards project and you were a fan of like one particular thing, like let's say Orc Massage is my favorite game of all time, the odds of you hitting cards from that property would be kind of low. And I like, you can look at it through the same example of something like Magic the Gathering or something like Pokemon TCG, where if you play like one type of Pokemon or one color of mana, if you open a great card, even like the best card in a different color, you're like, well, I can't use this, or this doesn't interest me, it's not my archetype. Same kind of vibe, right? And I think you're right. THM, because it is within that niche, it does hit a lot of other similar things, like a lot of femdom stuff doesn't necessarily always include chastity, but it can be like a big proponent of it. And so we kind of just tried to do some of the greatest hits from each of our games, show off some of the characters, but also we did a lot of commissions as well. A lot of like some really big creators like Pigturd, like Bishoujo Mum, to come in and create some stuff in the same way. A lot of times towards the end of the commission cycle, I created an image which is literally all of the Shackles of Elswyn women and then all of the Sleeve Shock women, and was like, hey, pick whichever character you would want to do. This is like a little description of kind of what they're like, and then do a commission that way. And it was really interesting that Kairu Noborogu, who was the second last one, and Canfirm, who was the last one, both picked Jenny from Sleeve Shock, a character that I thought was going to be the game's favorite character, but according to a poll on the THM Patreon, Roby is actually the fan base's favorite Sleeve Shock character. But Roby did also get a lot of love on the commissions as well, with Scamantis, who's one of my favorite artists at the moment, because they do some great comic content in the same way. So, and that was kind of what some of the time taken, right? Like, there's 86 unique cards in the set, and we started this project about a year and a half ago because, and like Neko's talked to me about merch and stuff like that before, and it's like, what kind of things would be exciting for people to have. And I don't know, old heads might remember that we got Dr. Sleepy to do a 3D sculpt of the Queen from Shackles of Elswyn, a thing that I had up until I moved house in March, and I was finally like, yeah, it's time to go. But you could download the STL file, you could 3D print that for yourself, and that was like, we get a commission of a piece of art, but also the people at home can turn it into a collectible. And I thought that would have been a really cool way to start, but no one really jumped on it. We set it as a reward tier, like higher than just get the game, and it didn't feel like anybody was converting up to specifically get that kind of reward. And so I was like, that's cool. We tried something, it didn't really work. Let's look at what kind of other options there are. I polled and I was like, do people want merch? What kind of merch designs would be cool? What the fuck can I even print from the THM franchise that people could wear outside? There's not much. I could maybe do some like pin-up type stuff that like maybe is lewd, but I couldn't do anything too crazy, right?
If you won't wear a Futanari with a 14-inch hard cock on your chest every single day, are you even a real fan?
Are you even based? Pretty sure that is not based behavior. And so I kind of just started with the idea of doing the THM logo as a t-shirt, because that's something that I would wear out. But I have the superpower of, if people criticize the thing, I'm like, yeah, but like I made that. I'm the stupid idiot that put that thing together, which is a little bit funny, but. And so I still have the idea of maybe doing like Redbubble apparel or something, if we can figure out what those designs are going to be. But it does mean that it takes artists hours away from working on the games to create something else that might be monetized. And some of the actual fan reception, I literally got a message in the Patreon inbox, which was like, stop fucking around with this other stuff and finish your games. And I'm like, we've talked about this before on the show, but it's like, we make live service content. There isn't an end point. It's going to be continually worked on as long as we're getting Patreon money. And the Collectible Cards project is using existing art from the games, plus commissions from other artists that aren't going into the games, or they are going into the games, as like the Bishojo Mum cosplay said, it was like an unlockable thing that you could look at and see. And there's different Bishojo Mum cosplay picks in the game as what's on the cards, and then there's still some unused ones for that set if we do a series 2 or whatever later. So it really is just using all these assets to our disposal in a way that is a monetizable product. So like for us as a business, we're just turning something that's not making money into something that is making money. And then for a fan, you're like, cool, I get to get like an actual physical thing of my favorite character, or art from my favorite artist for my favorite studio. I don't know if that person exists, but like that kind of thing. And I think that's kind of, like you said, maybe a better way of kind of doing it. But I just always are going to have haters in my inbox about no matter what I do. And I still need to
I think that's just like the struggle of like any developer creators. There's always going to be someone who's like, you're not doing enough.
Yeah, pretty much. We get the same 3 comments every single day, which is bring back cubes, say your games are too short, and all this, the same kind of shit. And I always have like the exact same replies to all of those things, where it's like, look, we're literally doing a game update every month as fast as the artist can make it. and all this other side stuff that I work on doesn't ever interfere with that. That's the whole idea. Like, we currently have Blackout working on 2 projects that don't overlap but don't interfere, right? It's just like +1 to the things that he was doing, and instead of working on something for 2 weeks and then he's now working on 2 things for 2 weeks, like, it's not really that big of a deal. I've just taken up another slot that he would have had for public commissions. And some of the artists can do that, but some of the artists like Miggy really do struggle to do that because they do have a lot of public commissions that they rely on for a lot. And it's oftentimes better for an artist to be taking public commissions because that's much more likely for them to get visibility and notoriety in the space than to be only working for me as a company, because my content is so niche. Like, it prevents exposure for people that aren't super interested in having a small cock and sucking down 14 gallons of cum from some. You get the idea. You've been here before. And so the collectible cards project is just kind of something that I was like, well, it's not super high effort for me. I get to contact a graphic designer that's outside of the stuff that we normally do. They built a template, and then I went through and did all the Photoshop stuff and laid up all the cards and put everything together myself. So it wasn't taking away from the existing stuff, and it gets to create a new cool thing that we've now got. And I've got a whole bunch of cards that I'm using as tokens for when I play Magic the Gathering. I actually posted a picture on Twitter of Mistress Laura as a germ token holding Caldra Complete.
Hell yeah.
Which was really funny. But I also have, so I got a full playset of Besties. It's like the second card in this series, and it's from the intro of Shackles of Elswin. But there's like no pornographic content in there. But it's like, hell yeah, here's my Besties token that just can be whatever I need it to be. And so I've found a funny practical application for it, and I'm sure that fans can probably do the exact same thing. But I don't know, I think it's been a big success.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I think the other nice thing that you can play off of is I can't say, like, I mean, I've been pretty in touch with like what other developers have tried to do, both in like Japan and abroad, to like merchandise these kinds of games, and I can't say I've heard of trading cards yet, or like collectible cards. I mean, I know the My Little Pony fandom had like a card game series
They did
that
have
was
a
like.
TCG by Hasbro, yeah.
Yeah, well, like Hasbro's an official one, and then there was a fan game called Twilight Sparkle's Secret Shipfic Folder that was like kind of etchy, because it's a game that's about like making pony fan fiction basically with cards. But I mean, I've never seen ones quite like this, and I like that there's also so many because, like, it's 86 possible cards. Even if you just decide like, oh, I'm only gonna buy like 2 or 3 packs, like you have a pretty good chance, as we saw in the card pack opening, of like getting almost all unique cards, and then whatever extras, you can give those to your friends, convert them, make them enjoy food and Ari.
Preach the word of girl cock.
Exactly.
Yeah, talking about the actual maths of it for a second, because I opened 10 packs and we split them up so that I had, 2 piles, one pile of duplicates and one pile of fully unique cards. And I had 66 fully unique cards. So I was only missing 20 cards in total. And I only opened 10 packs. And when I posted about it initially, where I was like, it's 14 cards per pack, there's 86 cards in a set, one of the people in the Discord replied and like, okay, 6, then I only need to buy 6.1 packs. And I'm like, that's not quite how this works. That would be the literal optima. But me being pretty close to complete on 10 packs, like, is still pretty good. The other thing is that it's 14 cards per pack, and it is split into rarity categories, where it's common, uncommon, rare, and ultra rare. So there's 4 categories. Common obviously has the most cards, and that's where most of my duplicates came from. But then, for example, a magic booster has a rare slot, which has a chance of being a higher rarity than rare, but it's only over 1 card per pack. In the THM collectible cards, there's a rare slot and an ultra rare slot, and in both of those slots, there's 2 cards each. So you'd be getting a 4 for higher rarity cards in every single pack, which makes it a lot easier to complete those categories when opening multiple boosters. I think I only got doubles of some of the rares, which was the Bishoujo Mum cosplay ones, because all of the nude Bishoujo Mum cosplay ones are in the higher rarity tiers. So I was kind of stoked to actually pull those. But it didn't feel like I was struggling to get stuff. We had some boosters that had some seeded similarities. Like the very first booster I opened had a lot of cards that depicted the Queen. And then we had a couple of other boosters that were kind of similar. And because each card is serialized, you can tell if it's in a sequential order or not, and like none of them were. But it still felt funny to have like some similarities in the like pack 1 and pack 2 having some overlapped things. But then we had even deep in it, like pack 8 or pack 9 or something I opened and had no overlapping cards with any of the previous ones opened. So it really did feel like I had opportunity to complete the entire set without wailing and cracking a million things. Like you see Pokemon TCG, people like, I want this one particular card, but the odds are like 0.2% or some bullshit. So I'm gonna buy 100, I'm gonna buy 200, 300 boosters, and then still not get it. Point Crow did a stream where his like stream ends when I open this specific card, and he opened 300 boosters or some bullshit.
Oh my god.
And it's not intending to be something like that. Like it's not designed to be predatory towards a person purchasing and who's looking for a specific card. Obviously, if you buy one booster and the card that you want is specifically an ultra rare, you are not going to be guaranteed to get it. But the odds for get it are much better than the average TCG consumer. And the rare and ultra rare categories don't have a ton of cards in them, so it is not specifically difficult to go through and collect all of them. Whereas like Magic the Gathering, for the example, has that rare card slot, but they will release rares in every set that are dog shit. And if you are going through and opening stuff, it's like, cool, it's the same rarity, but its value is greatly different. Whereas I feel like the THM does kind of solve that a little bit, where it's like all the stuff that are ultra rare, like are the sexier, better art that people like the most. And so in that way, it feels a lot more fair and balanced. And if you do get a couple boosters, you're definitely gonna open something that you're excited to see. So like we talked about earlier, the actual announcement video that I did get us a YouTube strike. So I honestly have no idea when this actual episode is going to go live, because YouTube does a really, really shit job of communicating when you are feature blocked or not. I know this because the THM channel has gotten one strike previously, and I'm pretty sure that was from putting Neko's stream links in the description, a thing that YouTube did not like. And then
Yeah, YouTube doesn't like links in general.
no, a thing that we're being kind of punished for. But the video that I uploaded was basically just an announcement for the live stream pack opening that we did, but I also included a link to where you can buy the cards, and that was the thing that was flagged, because the store page for it on the landing page is pretty safe for work, but in as you scroll down a bit, it lists all the commissions from the different artists, and a lot of the commissions are not safe for work. So it did unfortunately hit the flag and it was removed. However, you can just Google it and find it yourself. I believe in you and your abilities to do such a thing. It's found on the Game Crafter, a thing that I'll talk a little bit about in a minute, where they print on demand all of the boosters and packs and stuff like that. And it is the THM collectible cards. So you can either go onto the Game Crafter and search up THM collectible cards, or I think you could just put the whole thing into Google and it would pop up. But that is the best place to find it. It's 10 USD, which is cheaper than a lot of other things of the same size. And it has 14 cards in each booster, and each booster itself cannot have duplicates. So you'll only get duplicates as you are getting higher and higher counts of boosters. Um, and yeah, like I said, the Game Crafts is really good. They are also located in the States. They're in Madison, Wyoming. So getting something shipped from the Game Crafter, if you live in the States, to you is going to be very easy. Is not going to
No
be
tariffs.
a big problem. There's no tariffs. It's not coming from China like most merchandise products are. And that's part of the reason why I picked the Game Crafter, because I know things are really um, tumultuous right now. And even shipping to Australia, where my accent should have told you I'm from, isn't that hard. I've used them before for other projects, and it takes about 2 weeks to get here, but it also takes about a week and a bit for the manufacturing. So if you're in the States, a thing that means that shipping will only take a couple of days, you're going to get it much, much, much faster than I would be. And then the quality is really high. Like the card thickness is kind of on par with Magic the Gathering. It's got a really, really nice gloss finish. They don't have a lot of misprints or printed drift. Like we actually opened up the 10 boosters, and the way that the cards are aligned is it has a cyan center border that I use to break the card frame so that the characters can look like they're busting out forwards. And at no time was the cyan frame like so misaligned that you go, oh yeah, this is clearly miscut or whatever. I think that can happen in a lot of mass production facilities because it doesn't take much for the actual machine that cuts the cards itself to slip and miscut a sheet. So it was really, really good quality because of that. And I can't glaze them enough. They obviously have done really, really good work for me. But like the other thing of it being located in the States, I think really is a big deal, especially when it comes from customer certainty and being able to get the stuff delivered, within a reasonable time frame, not having to worry about the current trade war that's going on. A thing that I never really want to have to talk about American politics and things generally, but it does unfortunately impact us, even though I don't even live in the damn country. So we have to be mindful of this kind of stuff, and knowing that if a potential customer is going to get blasted with a ridiculous extra expense for something like this, which is a non-essential product, it is purely for some, minor entertainment value, a little bit of joy, and you're not going to want to, still do that if you're getting penalized an extra exorbitant amount of cash. So we understand that, and we're doing our best to, make that not be a problem. But there is also this nice other thing, and I feel like you kind of touched on this a little bit in the beginning, Neko, where it's sometimes you have to buy stuff to ensure that it exists, right? Like if you're spending the money on merch, if you're buying the game instead of illegally downloading it or whatever, you're putting an amount of money into that creator's pocket, which allows them to continue creating that thing, even if you hate THM, even if you hate Girlcock, God forbid. Right? And
why are you here?
But the money spent on things that helps THM create stuff, helps us make stuff like this podcast, helps us support other artists by commissioning them to work on stuff for us, right? Like if we spend the billions of dollars or whatever, and we commission an artist like Kairuno Rogu, who's really, really talented, or Canfirm, right, who's really, really talented, that puts money in their pocket. And then they get to continue being an artist. They get to continue living and working and doing that stuff. And so in that way, we participate in this whole ecosystem of the adult industry. And spending money in the adult industry helps the adult industry exist, right? And especially when it's getting harder and harder with, like the rise in conservatism. Norway this morning banned purchases on OnlyFans.
Shit.
Yeah, we might talk about that in a future episode as well. But with all of these problems and stuff coming up, it's making it harder and harder to find quality content to jerk your piece to. So whether or not THM is the thing, right? I'm not saying, come buy my thing. I know this whole episode literally just is an ad for the Collectible Cards project, but I'm not being like, hey, you must buy the cards. It's just that we've done this so that if you did want to spend money on something that isn't just the games or the Patreon, we're giving you something back for being able to do that, rather than just going, oh, we're going to get on the big Patreon tier and then get nothing, value out of it for that. It's just delivering money to you. It's us trying to generate value to reward you as the consumer for participating in spending money in the industry, and supporting other artists and supporting other creators and stuff does a lot to help things continue to exist. Because my greatest nightmare is that, and I was actually talking about this the other day, right? My doomsday scenario is you open up Netflix and you type into Netflix, I want a romantic comedy with Hugh Grant and Renee Zellweger, and rather than allowing you to watch Bridget Jones's Diary, it just AI generates an entire film for you. Just a wholly new thing based on those prompts.
Thanks for the nightmare fuel.
Right. And we're catapulting towards this at lightning speed, right? But the problem is that is always going to be upheld to censorship laws. It's going to say, hey, you typed in a banned term, we're not going to do that. And you're not going to be able to live out any of these kind of fantasies. But that chatbot, that AI generated thing, is going to slowly replace all entertainment. It's going to be so easy to access. It's going to be so just widespread with every single type of media that we encounter, that instead of Googling something, you are just going to tell the robot to create whatever kind of entertainment you're interested in experiencing at the time. It generates a whole video game, it generates a whole movie, and it's really only 10 years away from this happening. And so knowing that these kind of things are going to be beholden to shareholders, beholden to laws, as conservatism rises and stuff like pornography is banned in more and more places, Pornhub gets banned in more and more places, it's going to be harder to find anything, find any good content, find anything that's not just slop. So if you do find something, you do find a studio that makes stuff that you like, you do find an artist that draws feet really, really good for some reason, then maybe it is worth throwing a $5 their way, right? I'm not expecting you to bankroll their entire existence, but since porn has been free for almost our entire lives, looking at a scenario where that might go away entirely, then it's time to vote with your money and try and keep those things alive. I know that this is like a really unfun segment of the podcast, and we do it every 6 episodes or so, but it's kind of worth saying.
Please support adult content creators. We need your help. If you have any political consciousness, even if you're outside of America, these kinds of things tend to spread. So, support your small independent workers who are trying to just get shit published without being, banned or arrested. And on a broader scale, say stuff against this. Do not vote for people who are actively trying to consider, we gotta get rid of porn on the internet, or we're not allowed to sell certain things or draw certain things. Pay attention to those sort of things, because there is a lot of very scary legislation that is currently already in effect and being proposed every other day.
Yep. Like the amount of stuff that is detrimentally affecting trans women, kind of the subject matter of a lot of THM Studios content. It is important to speak up for and support the homies. And part of the Sexy Business podcast is not the sexy part, and I know it is already a podcast, but it is talking about the business of being an adult creator. And in the business of being an adult creator, you unfortunately have to be mindful of all of this kind of stuff. If you work in a factory, you have to have an understanding of how OH&S works, what kind of things you need to do to not get yourself killed. As a trans woman in America, you unfortunately have to have a pretty good knowledge of how things are going to happen to not get yourself killed in this country. It's the same kind of thing, and doing anything and everything you can to radically support and encourage. It doesn't have to be financially. A lot of the time it can just be raising awareness, getting exposure, helping share things, helping talk about stuff, leaving a positive comment. We get maybe 15 negative comments on how things are built and run for every one positive one. Actually just saying something nice can also help. If you see an artist do some cool shit that you blew a load to, just be like, hey man, thanks for making me remember to clean my keyboard today. If it wasn't so sticky, I probably wouldn't have done this for a while. And that goes a long way. Anyway, I have to clean my keyboard, so we are going to be ending this episode of the Sexy Business Podcast, the really fun podcast where we talk about sexy things and video games sometimes. Not this time, but sometimes. And because there is an opportunity cost of you encountering a more fun and interesting episode of the Sexy Business Podcast, you should hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you can hear about all the cool stuff that we're working on in the future, all the exciting stuff that we have coming up. Because, there is a couple of cool THM news segments that we, leaked at the end of the last episode. If you missed that, go and check that out. That we still have upcoming that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And you should be excited. I don't know why you're here still now, episode 62 that we're up to. And maybe when we get to episode 69, we'll have something exciting and cool for that as well. But we need your help. We need you to say nice things about us. That's it. Everyone, in the comment section, I want you to write something nice about Lewd Neko right now. Just do it. Let's get in there.
Just me.
And then, yeah, I don't need it. Who cares? Just write something nice. And then we'll see you next week, if we're not banned, on the Sexy Business Podcast.
Bye-bye.